Okay, chapter 1.1a. This is a three-part lesson. It's going to take us all week, and I think I put all these up this week for you to get ahead. There is a lot of notes on this. I do have a sheet that's going to put all the notes together so you can actually just focus on watching it and then copying the notes later. And it is the way the notes should look, so again, don't worry about doing all that. Just make sure you pay attention. Again, this is a tough topic, but it's not it's not a topic that if you don't get it, you're going to fail the test in 3 weeks. And by the way, your test is in 3 weeks. But it's not a topic that if you don't get it, you're going to fail the test. But I think that as long as you care enough to try, by the time we take the test in 3 weeks, we should be good. First off, algebra is the foundation of everything upper level math. You are a 5-weight student. You're in 135, which means that this puts a certain level of responsibility on you. For those of you who are not logging in, for those of you who are choosing not to work, for those of you who are falling behind, if you're in a 5 and you're falling behind in my class, you get no sympathy, and I'm not going to give you any breaks. You have a job to do. Make sure you do your job. This class is going to move. Just make sure again that you are ready and that you are communicating as best as you can so that I can help you to succeed. Anyway, if you don't know algebra, it's almost impossible to pass anything beyond this class. One of the key adjustments from math to algebra is variables. A variable itself is just a letter or symbol representing an unknown amount. We typically use X, Y, N, or any other letter, but there are many variables in algebra. There's even crazy looking Greek symbols that they use. You have actually probably worked with variables already. You just didn't know it because they didn't introduce it as a variable. You've more than likely seen flashcards that have something like 8 plus 5 equals a box. This is a variable. It means this box could be anything, but it's determined upon what's over here. We, of course, know 8 plus 5 to be 13. 3 plus the box equals 6. Again, you easily just said, well, that's got to be 3 because 3 plus 3 is 6, but that box represented a variable. In algebra, it's going to say something like 8 plus 5 equals x, which means the value of x is 13, or 3 plus x equals 6, which means the value of x is 3. So before you get intimidated by x's, y's, z's, all that stuff, pretty much a variable is just a number that's going to be in the problem. Sometimes it's one number, sometimes it can be more than one number, but just make sure you're aware of that. And if you're wondering why I'm speaking so quickly, it's because this is a video. You can always replay this, but I want to make sure I get through this information so that you can actually get what you need from the homework, which is really what this is all about. An algebraic expression is algebra, which means there's a variable, so it's a math phrase containing one or more variables. So if there's a variable, it's an algebraic expression. The essential question for you to be able to answer when you look at your notes when this is over with is, how do I convert words and phrases into algebraic expressions and equations? Make sure we know that. We can easily turn the word 6 into a 6, but what about the other parts? We have to learn the prompts for each operation, and we have to be ready for this type of stuff. So if we're looking at this, I think I have my work out of order. I do have it out of order. Give me a second. This makes more sense now. So if we're looking at addition, your prompt words, again, don't write them because unless you just want to, but I do have all your notes at the end. Plus, some, and more than are words that typically mean addition. Also, you have words like older than, longer than, taller than. Now, when you see your notes, make sure you put a star by more than. I don't think I did that, but I'll try to remember when I get to the end, because the key thing is that more than has a different type of writing. But what you would do is put the sum, that's a keyword there. I'm sorry, I put a box around keywords. So sum is a keyword of a number and 6. And so this means add. And so what I would do is, you know, it's going to be plus. The first thing stated is a number. The phrase a number means x, and 6, which means just put plus 6. You can get away with 6 plus x, but it should be x plus 6 because a number is first. Put the x first, put the 6 second. You will find out as you do your quiz this week that if you have them out of order, it will be wrong. So please make sure you're careful about that. Here we have a operation word, plus. Remember, plus was a word that we use. And 5 plus a number means, again, plus is our symbol, 5 is first, a number is second. It should be 5 plus x. You can get away with x plus 5, but it doesn't always work whenever you reverse it. Now, this is the one reason why we put a star there. More than is a phrase. It's a two-word phrase, which kind of makes it stand out. The thing about more than, yes, it's plus, but what more than does is it takes whatever's in the front and sends it to the back and reverses it. So the key on more than is that it switches the order of the worded values, which means that whatever was stated first is no longer first. It moves to the back. Your subtraction prompts: minus, difference, less, and less than. Now these two look the same, but again I'm going to put a star by less than. If you've been paying attention, you can probably guess what's special about yes, less than. Also younger than, shorter than, etc. Again, when you see this on your test or on your quiz, there's your operation word. Underline the value words. A number is first, which means x is first. Minus 2 is what you're going to do there. On the next one, difference is your operation word. So that means we're going to subtract. The first number or first value word we see is 5. The second value word we see is x. You cannot reverse subtraction because 3 minus 2 is not the same as 2 minus 3, and so you have to make sure that x is first here and that 5 is first here. Now less is also a operation word. That is a basic operation word, which means subtract. 6 is first, a number is second, so 6 minus x would be your answer. Now the part where you have to be careful, which is the one I starred, is 6 less than a number. Less than a number is subtraction, but again, less than means your 6 needs to be over here and that your x needs to be over here. If you're wondering why I'm boxing the word and then underlining the numbers, that's just so I can kind of keep myself organized, so that whenever these things get more difficult, which they will, I can actually handle what's going on. So again, the key here is that less than switches the order of the worded values, so just keep that in mind also. Multiplication has some prompts that most teachers don't teach, but I want you to see them. Times, product, each, per, and of. All those words mean multiply. Typically, imagine writing 6 times a number is 6 times x. That's confusing. So we don't use a multiplication sign. So the key in writing multiplication is that we do not use symbols, but you always want to put the numbers first. So once you know it's multiplication, forget about the symbol, put number first, variable second. Product means multiply, a number, and 9. We don't care which one is first because we just said number first, variable second. 2/3 of a number. Remember I told you of means times. This helps you out because you put the number first. 2/3 of means times a number, which means number first, variable second. Now you can put 2/3 x. You could also put legally 2x over 3. You cannot put 2 over 3x, which is why if you write this lazily on paper, a teacher can mark you wrong because that's dividing by the x, which you don't want. But I'd say the safest thing to do is make sure you put the x right by the line if you write it down. A number times 11, operation word times. That's two things, but again, because it's multiplication, number first, variable second. $5 per notebook. Yes, per does mean times, and since it's per notebook, I would use a variable that makes sense, which is in. So 5 per notebook means I would put 5 in. So if you bought 2 notebooks, it would make sense that it's 5 times 2, or $10. If you bought 10 notebooks, which would be your in, it would make sense as 5 times 10, which is 50. Each is also a multiplication word. Each student costs $2. Each student costs $2. So I would use a S because it is talking about an actual thing here. And so number first, variable second. So in this case, if 4 students walked in, it should be $8, 2 times 4 there. Alright. Last one we need to talk about here is division. Divided by and quotient are your two words. The key thing in algebra is that we write as a fraction with whatever is first on top. So instead of left to right, it's top to bottom. Alright. Your examples here are a number divided by 8. Again, divided by, we put a fraction. A number is first, 8 is second. There is your fraction. The quotient, that's another division word, of 10 and a number means it's a fraction. 10 goes on top, x goes on the bottom. Notice the difference between these two. You cannot reverse these around. If you do, you're going to miss it. So final thoughts before we leave this and before I put your notes up and before you have to answer this question. What two operation phrases tell us to switch to worded values? Should be less than, more than. Alright. What completely ignores the order should be your multiplication, because remember you're going to have number first, variable second, and the special thing about division is that we write it as a fraction. So you can pause the video as you copy these notes. Don't need to copy all this extra stuff, but this is the main part of the notes you need to see. So again, feel free to pause it, but I'm going to put the question here now so you can answer that and then continue on and get the rest of your notes as you go. So there's that. And this. And this. Yes. So please go to your Math Excel and start working on that. All right. Thank you. Good luck.